Hello friends, and welcome to a brand new camera comparison between the iPhone 14 Pro and the regular iPhone 14. So the 14 Pro is a lot more expensive than the 14, so tell me in the comment section below if you think it is worth it and if there are any differences with their front cameras. We start this comparison with their main cameras, but first I just wanted to clarify the testing process. All of the upcoming daylight pictures are taken in auto mode without adjusting any of the settings. So the iPhone 14 Pro samples are kept at 12 megapixels, since I only wanted to see how they perform when taking regular pictures. I left the Pro RAW mode for professionals, since I don't consider myself as one of them. When looking at these samples side by side, honestly there isn't much to compare. In almost every case I laid my eyes, they looked almost identical. Colors are very similar and so is the dynamic range and even the sharpness. I noticed that the main camera of the 14 Pro is just so slightly wider compared to the regular 14, but overall in terms of performance they seem to be very similar. This isn't really a bad thing since both of them are really good in daylight. And truth be told, these two are some of the best devices for taking pictures. Both have the same iPhone colors that we are all familiar with. I kind of wanted the Pro to be a little bit better since it costs more, but with my testing they are almost identical. Even with their ultra-wide cameras I feel like there are little to no differences at all. Both remain very sharp with natural colors and amazing dynamic range. The 14 Pro has an entirely new sensor, while the regular 14 has last year's sensor, but in practice both are really doing an amazing job, and the colors are like they were in real life. The new photonic engine seems to be doing an amazing job with these cameras, and overall I have no complaints at all. These are some of the best ultra-wide cameras out there, and I think you will be happy with them. If you take mostly pictures of landscapes during daylight, you might consider the regular 14 since the differences this year are just minimal. Where you will find the difference is at 2x zoom. To be clear, the difference isn't that huge, but it is still noticeable, and it is seen more clearly when we crop in. As you can see, the building on the 14 Pro is sharper, even though it isn't as good as with optical zoom. Once again, at 2x the 14 Pro is sharper compared to the 14, thanks to its new main camera that can zoom in at 2x with only a slight loss in quality. The regular 14 on the other hand zooms in digitally, and of course it's starting to lose sharpness. At 3x the 14 switches to its telephoto sensor, and here of course it is much sharper compared to the digital zoom of the 14. Everything on the picture of the 14 Pro is more detailed, but other than that the color science is similar. Probably the biggest difference was in this case, since as you can see the 14 Pro is very sharp and everything on the frame is natural, while the 14 of course has less sharpness and the colors are overexposed since it crops in with the main camera. The 14 Pro can also take macro pictures, while the regular 14 doesn't have this feature at all. Macro pictures from the 14 Pro are some of the best and sharpest I have ever seen, while the minimum focusing distance on the 14 is around 15 centimeters. For me, macro pictures aren't that important, so I don't see as a big advantage, but if you are someone who takes macro pictures every day, then the 14 Pro is the safe choice. When it comes to portraits with their main cameras, they are identical. iPhones have always been amazing for portrait shots, and these two are no different. The 14 Pro can also take portraits at 2x, and when we crop in with the 14 to match its sibling, you can see the Pro has a better perspective, but my face looks natural and identical on both devices. At 3x with a telephoto camera, once again the Pro has a better perspective, but my face looks better and brighter on the regular 14, which by the way is cropped, and it still retains the sharpness. With their front cameras they take identical portraits with zero differences at all, so with portraits I think they aren't that different, and the only benefit of the Pro is the ability to take portraits up to 3x, but even that can be mimicked by cropping with the 14. So what about selfies without portrait? Well, you guessed it right, and they are identical. My face is very detailed on both, and this year the 14 series really take amazing selfies. When shooting against the sun I noticed that my skin color becomes a little bit warmer for my taste, but overall these two are some of the best for taking pictures with their front cameras. When recording videos with our main cameras, they are the best in the world. Stabilization is amazing even without action mode, and the dynamic range with videos is just unmatched by the Android competition. I am not mad with the lack of 8K, since even at 4K they are astonishing. When recording with their ultra-wide cameras, they are nearly identical, and I think that even with these cameras no other phone can come close to them. At 3x we see the difference in optical and digital zoom. The 14 Pro is so much sharper and there is no competition. Moving to low light, and from now on every picture is taken with auto night mode. Just like in daylight, for the most part they remain very similar, with just some small differences in processing. In most of the samples I like them both, and they showed a lot of progress compared to previous iPhones. For the first time I can actually say that iPhones are now good at taking selfies in low light. Even with their main cameras I didn't actually notice many differences, and in cases when there was a lot of light present, it seemed that they were identical. In some samples, however, I noticed that the 14 Pro was actually sharper, but the regular 14 was almost just as good, so you won't have an inferior camera with a regular model. I was actually surprised how similar they were, since I expected the 14 Pro to be much better. It's not that the 14 Pro is bad, it's just the processing of the regular 14 is just as good. That's why we almost have identical images. I feel like we are at a point where software does most of the job, and since both have the new photonic engine they are really good. This wasn't always the case, however, since here the 14 Pro is actually a little bit better. The sky was also slightly brighter on the Pro, and even though for the most part they remain similar, it is worth mentioning. When I switched to their ultra-wide cameras at the same place, it was right away noticeable that the 14 Pro was much brighter. While the regular 14 loses in quality compared to its main camera, the Pro remains just as good as before. Everything on the Pro is more visible. When there were plenty of light sources present, the difference wasn't actually that big, and from what I could see here, only the sky is brighter on the Pro. For the most part they continue to be very similar, and I didn't see the benefit of having the Pro in places with a lot of light. There were however cases just like here when even with a lot of light sources the Pro was brighter. When we crop in you can see the 14 Pro is brighter and sharper, but truth be told a regular user won't even notice these differences. At 2x the 14 Pro is slightly sharper, but just look at the store. None of them did manage to keep the lights on check, and they seem overexposed. Perhaps you can see the difference in clarity here, even though to me they seemed not that different, and the 2x zoom isn't really lossless like Apple claims. At 3x however, when the telephoto kicks in, the 14 Pro is sharper and much more detailed compared to the blurry picture of the regular 14. Once again, from these samples you can see the 14 Pro being a lot sharper, and it really benefits from having a 3x zoom, since I think this lens makes the difference on choosing the regular or the Pro model. Another thing to mention is the way they take portraits in low light. With the 14 Pro with the main camera you can take portraits with night mode activated, while this feature isn't present on the 14, but in real life the difference isn't that noticeable. So guys, what do you think? Let me know in the comments if the difference in the cameras will make you spend $200 more and get the Pro model, or if you thought the 14 is more than enough. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.